We all came here together to celebrate the guest of honor. The guest of honor. Who is the guest of honor? The guest of honor for today's breakfast is the Sammy Farkas Sefer Torah. And there's no one who gave more honor to the Torah than the Farkas family, Michael, Ben, and Alex, by dedicating the Sefer Torah and coming out here and not just making the Sefer Torah possible, but making the ability to learn the Torah a possibility. Thank you to the Farkas family. Michael, before I ask you to come up here to accept your beautiful award, I want to share with you a short story in the background about the Sefer Torah that you dedicated this morning. It started Erev, I think it was Erev, might have been Matthew, when the world was going crazy because a hurricane might be coming, and especially us people in Miami go wildly crazy. We think about migrating to Orlando. Is our host from Orlando still here? Rabbi Waxman? No, he left. Oh, here he is. And everyone starts calling you. Could you put us up? Where can we stay? So I got an odd call, like the couple of hours before this hurricane was supposedly going to hit. And the call was, could you come and pick up your Sefer Torah? I said, what Sefer Torah? And the sofer on the other end of the line said, your Sefer Torah has been sitting in my house for a year, maybe 2 years. I checked it, and it's perfect, it's good, but it's been sitting here, and I'm afraid the hurricane's going to come, and I don't want to take responsibility for the Torah. Please put it in a proper place. Put it in a safe. And I repeated my question, what Sefer Torah? And the sofer said, this is Stilerman? Yes. This is YEHUDI? I said, yes. Well, didn't YEHUDI absorb a couple of smaller organizations across Florida? I said, yes. Well, one of the organizations you absorbed was one called Maimonides. They owned a Sefer Torah. Maimonides is now part of YEHUDI. That Sefer Torah is yours. I was delighted to hear this. I called up a posek to double check that it's indeed ours. I called up a few people to find out the origin of the Sefer Torah, and sure enough, this is a gift from Hashem. A Sefer Torah for YEHUDI. I go to pick up the Sefer Torah, and of course the Sefer says, here's the Torah, and here's the bill. It was checked by me, cover to cover, no one paid it. And I look at the Sefer Torah. What you saw this morning was not a new Sefer Torah, but it was a beautiful Sefer Torah. As they say, they don't make them like they used to. Alex will tell you that it's big and heavy. The mantle needed to be replaced. The gartel, the belt around it needed to be replaced. The badim needed to be replaced. But it was like a 1960s classic Lincoln that had a beautiful engine. And that engine was pristine. The words of the Torah were gorgeous. The neshama of the Torah was perfect. This Torah probably has a lot of stories to tell where it's been. But one thing I'll tell you for sure, a Sefer Torah should never be sitting in a closet alone. A Sefer Torah needs to be held and needs to be loved and needs to be cherished. A Sefer Torah needs to be lifted. A Sefer Torah needs people to look up to it and say, this is our Torah, this is my Torah. A Sefer Torah needs to be danced with. And we were delighted when Rabbi Yisrael Advisor said that YEHUDI Orlando is ready to start a minyan. Thank you. YEHUDI Orlando is ready to start davening Mondays, Thursdays, Shabbos, and all we need is a Sefer Torah. A perfect match. We have the Sefer Torah, and this Sefer went from Miami Beach to Orlando, and now has a place to call home. The people in this room get a tremendous applause. The UCF students, give yourselves a round of applause. For coming on Mondays and Thursdays, for davening, for coming on Shabbos, not just for listening to the Torah, but for coming to Rabbi Abbasor's table and for learning the Torah, for internalizing the Torah. A Torah is not made to be kept in the closet. A Torah is made to be brought out, to be danced with, to be cherished, to be loved. And Michael, I have to share this remarkable part of the story that happened very recently. The Torah was checked from cover to cover to make sure it was perfect. But Rabbi Abbasor calls me and says, we looked through the Torah and there seems to be a mistake. We cannot properly dedicate the Torah if there's a mistake in it. I said, a mistake? What? Could you send me a picture? And he sends me a picture of it and I show it to the Sefer, and the Sefer says, yeah, this is a mistake. It needs to go back from Orlando down to Miami Beach, has to be fixed up and sent back. There was a word in the Sefer Torah that was illegible. It was almost crossed out because there was ink on it. There was one word that was missing, and a Torah missing one word is not a Torah. What was that word? In Parshas Kisava we read what happens to the Jewish people when we keep the Torah. There'll be bracha, there'll be blessing, there'll be shefa, there'll be abundance of health, goodness, wealth, and happiness. But we also read what would happen to the Jewish people. Chas v'shalom, we stray away from the words of the Torah, when we don't internalize the Torah, when we abandon the Torah. And in the same parsha it talks about the klalos, the curses, the tragedies that will befall the Jewish people. What was the word that was erased from our Sefer Torah? The word klala, the word tragedy. And my first reaction was, great! This is the best Torah ever! There's no tragedies in it! Yeah, we have to write it, but if it gets erased, that's amazing! And then I couldn't fathom, we're going to drive a Sefer Torah all the way back to Miami Beach and back just to write in, to fix the word, to write in the word klala? Does that make sense? Is that Jewish? We don't pray for klalos, but if it happens, we don't want him, and if it's erased, let's celebrate. Let's have a Sefer Torah with no tragedies in it. How could we go and put that word back in? And the lesson from here I want to share today is what I heard from my Rabbi Berkowitz, who tells us two powerful points about tragedies. Number one, a Torah without klalos is not a Torah. A Jew does not forget tragedies. If a tragedy happens to us, we remember it. The Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. Here we are 2,000 years later, still sitting on the floor on Tisha B'Av. We still have Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, we still have Asar B'Teves, we still have Sen Gedalia. We still go on YEHUDI trips to Poland. A Yid does not forget tragedies. We remember our tragedies. And we keep our tragedies close to our hearts. Number two, a tragedy that we remember is a tragedy that can cause growth. And that is why a Torah needs to have the klalos, because it could be a great, great impetus for growth. Is it possible to ask them to stop or to move over just for 10 minutes? Thank you. Tragedies are able to foster tremendous growth. And we're told that when Mashiach comes, there's going to be a great day, a great celebration. The greatest day in the Jewish calendar after Mashiach is going to be Tisha B'Av. It's going to be the day that we sit on the floor crying with ashes and crying about the Beit HaMikdash. That will become the greatest Yom Tov. That's going to become our Simchas Torah, Purim, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, all wrapped in one. Why? There are energies in this world. Rabbi would say that perhaps the most powerful of all energies is the energy of emotion. And when we're able to take a tragedy and put it in a little box and put that box in the storehouse, and then we're able to pull out that box on a Tisha B'Av, on a Aseret B'Teves, on a Shiva Aseret B'Tamas, and we're able to open that box up and take out the tragedies and remember the tragedies that happened to us, and it evokes emotion, and we're able to relive those moments. If a Jew can evoke emotion and take that emotion and channel in it, they could channel that emotion to change the world. Number one, tragedy is to be remembered. Number two, tragedy is to grow. Michael, it's no coincidence that the word klala was erased from the Torah. It's no coincidence that we slept from Orlando to Miami Beach and then back to put that word back in. A tragedy befell your family. Tragedy befell the community of Miami Beach. A tragedy befell Klal Yisrael when Sammy, Yitzchak, Farkas was taken from us too early. And whereas the gut reaction might be, great, let's take a tragedy and let's forget it, let's erase it. Let's never think about it again. That's not the Torah way. The Torah way is to remember. The Torah way is to put a name of the Sammy, Yitzchak, Farkas, Yitzchak, and Moshe David on a Sefer Torah. And every Monday, and every Thursday, and every Shabbos, when that Torah is lifted up, every Simchas Torah, when that Torah is danced with, when it's held, when it's cherished, and every day of the week when that Torah is learned from, we will remember Sammy, Yitzchak, Farkas. The tragedies to grow from. A Yid has a Shiva, has a Shloshim, has a Yurtzeit, and we remember the ones we lost. But there are select people in this world, there are select individuals, there are select families which can take the next step and can take it from remembering to growth. And that step is 1,000,000 miles high and it's so hard to do. That step is taken today. To not just remember someone, but to have it become a catalyst of growth through every UCF Jewish student. To become a catalyst of growth for every Hillel student, for every YEHUDI student in Orlando, in Miami Beach, in Gainesville, in Tallahassee, in Wynwood, in Brickell, and NMB. You've not only given us a Sefer Torah, you've given us the means, you've given us the ability to spread the heart of the Torah throughout Florida. And please God, we'll be able for many years to continue spreading that Torah in new branches, in Tampa, Las Olas, all across the state, and please God, all across the country one day. I look around this tent, the young people here, 18, 19, 20 maybe. Sammy Yitzchak Farkas would have been about that age now. He should have been sitting right at that table. I'm here to say that he is sitting here right at that table. His neshama, his legacy lives on because a Yid does not take klala and cross it out. We write the word klala in our Torah. That is Torah. To remember the tragedy and to use it as a catalyst of growth. Ashreinu, how fortunate are we have to have Sammy Yitzchak Farkas in the room with us today. And to cause a catalyst, an amazing catalyst of growth throughout all the hearts of the people in this room, the people in Orlando, of the Jewish students and millennials throughout Florida. And I want to end with a bracha. mentioned that the greatest Yom Tov, when Mashiach comes, is going to be the Yom Tov of Tisha B'Av. And I want to suggest that there might be another great day. And that's going to be the day when Mashiach comes. And Sammy Farkas is going to be right there after Tchias HaMesim. And he's going to go to see his family. And the Sefer Torah is going to come out to greet him. And behind that Sefer Torah are going to be tens and dozens and hundreds and thousands of young men and young women who were impacted by his legacy, who are now people of the Torah, people of the book. And we're going to come and sing with him like we sang this morning. And we're going to sing, and it's going to be the greatest reunification of an neshama and his Torah. And we're going to take that Torah with his name on it, and we're going to give it to him. And we will sing and we will dance. It will be a great Yom Tov. My bracha, Michael, is that we celebrate that day together, the days of Mashiach, together with the whole Farkas family, with Sammy Yitzchak together, and everyone who's able to benefit from his Torah, from his legacy. Thank you, Michael. Next to me I have a small replica of the Sefer Torah that we're able to learn from. Michael, in a minute I'm going to call and I'm going to ask you to come up here and receive this beautiful award, this memorial. I want to read to you what it says on it, the tefillah that every Jewish mother says for their child as they light their candles, the zakeni, and the words are U'mi'irim es ha'olam ba'Torah, to light up the world with Torah. It's every mother's child, it's every mother's blessing and wish for their child. May the legacy of Sammy Yitzchak Farkas illuminate the world, starting from UCF campus to the rest of the world, with Torah. We present this award to Michael D. Farkas on behalf of the Sammy Farkas Foundation. Today, October 29th, 2020, Yud Aleph Cheshvan Tavshin Pei Aleph, Oviedo, Florida. Please give a big, warm, YEHUDI, Hillel, welcome, and applause to Michael D. Farkas.